I like the line that you said, do you want me to swear in on something? And it made me wonder, like, what would that look like? Are they swearing in on the Book of Lore, or?
Well, if it's important to Han, maybe he swears in on Chewie.
Yeah, the instruction manual for the Falcon.
Right. Hello there, you found the lost Holocron, ancient artifact of lore and legends from a galaxy far, far away. Each transmission of the lost Holocron, you will join an episodic discussion of media from the Star Wars universe. We will be your guides. Tim, whose new favorite musical genre is screaming goats singing opera versions of gangster rap.
Fuck yeah.
Kyle, whose new favorite musical genre is empty water bottles being run over by a forklift.
It's a blessing, not a burden.
And I am Scott. My new favorite musical genre is 1920s big band death metal.
Oh boy, these all sound amazing.
And Stuart, just you wait. Stuart, your new favorite musical genre is Howler Monkeys yodeling Christmas songs.
Yeah. That's the only one that sounds difficult to listen to.
I believe I very recently really got into listening to music. There's a genre of music on YouTube where it's like, it's this song, but you're in a abandoned mall and it's playing over the speakers.
I love those kinds of videos.
Yeah. They're always really creative.
It's Taylor Swift, but you're in the bathroom of a party trying not to cry.
Yeah. Incredible. This is why YouTube is the best music platform, honestly.
Yeah. And this is why I don't believe in copyright as that people should protect, like, free culture movement. I believe in free culture movement because those things should exist. People should be able to take and chop whatever music and hear it interpolated in as many different styles as people want to.
I agree. We love Star Wars. Star Wars is ours.
It belongs to the people.
Yeah.
All right. We'll be covering the material up and to including Chapter 3 of Dark Force Rising. So, Stuart, can you yodel to us what happened so far?
I left my yodeling voice in my other pants. So
No.
The New Republic is beleaguered by numerous Imperial hit and fade operations. To fulfill the needs of the victimised member worlds, New Republic warships have been pressed into relief shipping. With many vulnerable capital ships funneled through Sluis, the Imperial Remnants use mole miners stolen from Lando Calrissian's Enterprise to assault the shipyard in an attempt to hijack warships. Leia Organa Solo has been evading abduction from a mysterious alien task force. Leia and Chewbacca go to ground on Kashyyyk, where another incident occurs. Together with the Wookiees, she neutralises the threat, capturing a Noghri operative, Khabarakh, but not before Chewbacca's childhood friend Salporin is killed. During the subsequent interrogation, Khabarakh identifies Leia as daughter and heir to the revered Lord Vader. Leaning on that reverence, she offers a one-on-one meeting as a show of good faith from the New Republic towards the Noghri people. She returns to Coruscant in the interim to prepare for her meeting in a 1 month's time over the forest moon of Endor. Meanwhile, from a chance sighting on Merca, Han, Solo, and Lando are informed by an unforthcoming Talon Card of the recent Imperial Reformation under a non-human Grand Admiral, after he declines to supply the New Republic with logistical support. Han and Lando arrive with Luke Skywalker at Sluis in time for Lando's override codes to foil the Imperial assault. They are alerted to a political emergency on Coruscant, and Han leaves ahead of Luke and Lando. Kyle, what happened in Chapter 3?
Jesus Christ.
He's always on cue.
That sounds like...
Sorry, that's the water bottle music that I was apparently now a fan of. Sorry. Okay.
Was that Walking on Sunshine?
It was the Star Wars theme. Didn't you hear it?
That's the amazing thing about this genre. Everybody hears what they want to hear inside the crackling of the water bottles.
I like how my wavelength has gotten higher than it ever has before. Right. Admiral Akbar is under house arrest under suspicion of treason. On the day of the attack on Sluis van, money had been transferred into his account on the Crossroad Planner of Panhani. Known for its known for its fate during the Galactic Civil War.
That just hit me.
That's a Futurama planet, not a Star Wars planet.
Oh, now I can see.
So bad at recording this.
Me too. Please do not edit this out. But you can reduce the laughing.
Just 20 minutes of us laughing.
Oh God, I have to mute myself.
You know what? You guys get the laughs out. I gotta get a joke. I'm dying over here.
I'm crying now. That's so funny.
Oh, this might rival that time that we didn't catch. What was it?
Little intelligence.
Oh, yeah.
No. We got that one, but no. It was it was Han Solo trying to get the snuggling logistics for the New Republic. But that one happened between recordings, and like you fixed it.
So this is why we do this podcast.
Yeah. Composed.
I don't know why. Every time I join, it's my turn to read. I'm like, I don't need to zoom in. I can see this fine. All right. Han arrives back to Coruscant and is quickly shepherded by Leia to a special hearing of the New Republic Council. Mon Mothma presides as Han recounts his experience of a Sluis van. During Thala's allegations against Akbar, Han blurts out his uncorroborated discovery that the Imperials are being led by a Grand Admiral. The Council suspends further inquiry to investigate the new claim and continue with Han's Sluis testimony. Han, Leia, and Chewbacca visit Akbar. Akbar doubts that the old Imperial files will contain useful information. The position of Grand Admiral was always one of Emperor Palpatine's efforts to exercise direct control over both the military and political spheres. Since landing, Han senses unease in Chewbacca, but Leia is not ready to speak about their time on Kashyyyk yet.
It's nice to see Han and Leia having a pretty healthy dynamic overall.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I'm not ready to talk about it. All right, cool. Yeah, I'm going to be okay. All right, I'm worried about you, but cool.
I trust you.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Great. I like seeing it.
I know, it makes you wonder what went so wrong in the Disney canon.
You know what went so wrong?
Because it was Disney canon.
No. J.J. Abrams canon.
Yes.
Yeah.
It happened.
Mystery box everything.
God. J.J. Abrams came up with all the things we dislike about the sequel trilogy.
Yep.
Potentially. I mean, obviously there's lots of people in the film production, but his name is on the thing. And then the second thing his name is on made everything a little bit less interesting in retrospect. So it makes one wonder.
Yeah, I really liked Fringe. Really did not like his sequel trilogy movies.
I like Lost as well. Lost was pretty good.
I did like Lost until the end, and I'm like, really?
Yeah, that last episode was like
this is it?
Yeah. I just would have preferred if it was cancelled rather than have to like force shove everything into the at the very end, because like the mystery about it was cool, and that was kind of the point of the whole show. So then let it be the mystery.
Yeah.
Actually, I was just watching an interview with George Lucas the other day, who was saying like let people talk about it. Like when he did Empire, at the very end, he wasn't 100% sure on whether what Vader told Luke was going to be a lie or not. He was like, that's for the audience to decide between the filming of now and the next movie.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And so he was like, okay, well, that's what I'm going to put out there. It's going to be a bit of a mystery. And then as he's writing the next one, it comes into focus whether or not that is a big lie told by Darth Vader, or whether that is the the truth and what makes for an interesting story. So
that's a really interesting approach to it. Yeah. And I think
Yeah.
it goes to show how important the listeners, viewers, consumers, whatever word you want to use, how important their interaction is to just storytelling in general. Because ultimately, we're all sharing ideas with each other when it comes down to it.
Yeah,
Ideas,
totally.
feelings, experiences.
And so we get a lot of imagery in this about what the Emperor was like, or what Timothy Zahn thought the Emperor was like, at least. And there was a description of the monstrosity that was the Emperor's old palace, his old place, that both tells me a lot about Han and a lot about the Emperor. And I quite like that description, because it makes Han feel like he could be a real simpleton, but also that he's non-materialistic. He doesn't like these kinds of things, whereas like the Emperor was very...
It must look quite garish.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean, when someone says like something is a monstrosity, granted it's from Han's perspective, but it would, if it's describing decor, it would have to be something pretty tacky or over the top. Something that's like, extravagant and clearly trying to make a good impression, but ultimately doesn't have much taste to it.
There was a stained glass and indoor pottery or something. Indoor, I want to say vegetables, but that's not the right word.
Foliage?
Yeah. They just had like a lot of foliage all over the place, and it didn't sound like it was terrible to me, but like, maybe that's just Han. Han just likes the barest of bare in his Millennium Falcon.
Oh, here we go. Han looked around the corridor at the high convoluted vaulting of the ceiling, the ornate carvings and cut glass windows alternating on the walls, the rows of short greenish-purple saplings lining each side. The Emperor had supposedly designed the grand corridor personally, which probably explained why Han had always disliked the place.
Kind of sounds like, I don't know, real classical architecture.
Yeah, I'm imagining like a cathedral.
Yeah, same.
Which absolutely sounds like way too much for this kind of context that this building would be used for in general. It sounds like someone that had a very grand view of themselves.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like Palpatine.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you do as like Supreme Ruler of the universe as well, or Supreme Ruler of the galaxy?
Well, you rule.
Sounds like a very stressful job.
Like, what do you do?
Why do people want
Well,
power?
that's why you're not Supreme Ruler of the Galaxy, Stuart.
Not yet, anyway.
It's all about the power, baby. Yeah.
I imagine for him it was mostly delegation.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. He seems to like to have his fingers in a lot of things, too.
Yeah. But if we consider the line in A New Hope, where he's like, he dissolved the Senate and is giving control to regional rulers, he also sounds like an aloof ruler as well.
Yeah. Maybe Palpatine just does whatever he wants, more just to the beat of his own drum, and Galactic Conquest just happens to be there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's probably a question that for most villains whose goal is to take over the world or end all life or whatever. Like, what is the goal for after? Like, what are you just gonna sit around or and do for nothing forever? There's this old Newgrounds game called Mastermind, and the aim of it was to take over the world and destroy it. And the end of it is you get like a moon base, and you do it. You blow up Earth, And then he's like, I've done it. And then one of his henchmen are like, now what? And he's like, I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe that's why Palpatine designed the corridor. If this was his hobby to occupy his mind while he was successful. Maybe he just got really into interior design.
Oh, who doesn't?
Yeah.
Palpatine would have loved Animal Crossing.
I mean, if you look at like all of the old, what was it, 16th, 17th, 18th century scientists, they were all lords and nobles that had too much time and just wanted to go out and categorize all the different kinds of grass in their backyard.
Yeah.
That's how we got a scientific revolution in the end, is just people with too much time and too much money going like, well, let's figure this out.
Oh my god, the wealthy actually helped us for once.
What do you mean? Don't do the now, Tim?
That was a long time ago.
So at the beginning, we have Han coming out of hyperspace and into Coruscant, and he's brooding about C-3PO, and he says that C-3PO has like some sort of like nursing some wounded pride or whatever passes for that for a droid. What was that about? Was that connected to his like 6 days in space with him, or?
I wasn't sure.
Are you talking about when the comment about Han letting him kind of like sit up front with him and then tolerate him, trying to learn to tolerate him or something?
Is that what it was about? Because like at the very beginning of the chapter, it's like, oh, he's got some wounded pride from whatever happened. And I was like, well, what was that? And then we do get this backstory of like, well,
right, yeah,
they had 6 days together, and Han expelled him from his presence by this third day.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Is that what was supposed to connect there?
I guess.
It seems like everybody hates C-3PO.
Yeah. Well, in the flashback thing talks about like he was trying to learn to tolerate him, so he let him up front in the cockpit with him for a little while, and then he would try and find excuses to work on parts of the Falcon that had only room for him in there, so that 3PO couldn't accompany him and bother him, and then then I think it got to the point where he was just like, get out of here.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is why I'm generally not a fan of flashbacks, because it can make moments like this quite confusing.
Yeah.
Like, I think those 2 bits of information should have been switched around.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It was a little confusing, yeah.
Yeah, that's the other thing. They're both in the same chapter, and the stories really happening concurrently. Did he think the pacing would have just been bad? I don't know.
That's a very good question, actually. I want to think about that.
I feel like not actually a lot happened in those interactions, and to detail that all out would probably have been uninteresting, because like he could have drafted a chapter and been like, having 2 characters interacting as this kind of like bottle chapter is not as compelling as he thought it would be, and just kind of push that aside and say, okay, well, this is the gist of what happened. I don't know, are we going to get C-3PO come around in the end and be holding some grudge?
I don't know. I think generally I enjoy slice of life content where it's just like, yeah, here's a chapter about Han and C-3PO trying to get ownership.
I wonder if it does give a sense of progression to the chapter, though, because one thing that's really sticking out to me reading through that is that by the end he says, by the afternoon of the 3rd day, he'd banned the droid from his presence entirely. Leia wouldn't like it when she found out, but she'd have liked it even less if he'd given in to his original temptation and converted the droid into a set of backup alluvial dampers.
Yeah, right.
And so the reason that's sticking out to me is because of their interaction at the end of the chapter.
Okay.
Where Han is kind of like... And so I think it's already actually it's not much of a sense of progression. It's more just establishing a bit of Han's character that informs how he interacts with her later. When she's like it shows that her desires are ultimately very important to him, no matter what grudges he's holding.
Wait, that happens later?
Oh no, is that the next chapter?
Yeah, I think so.
Uh-oh. Tim pulled me. No,
I don't care. I'm just teasing you.
No, I don't think you did. But
Okay, good. It's not the next chapter.
No, it is. The next chapter is when Leia tells Han about.
Leia tells Han that she's pregnant.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
All right, I pulled a Scott.
No, but I think also it happens in this chapter. Like they're talking to Akbar about like what they can find and what they can do, and he is more deferential to Leia in that he doesn't just steamroll her opinion, and is quite willingly cooperative, which for Han is a hard ask, really.
Yeah,
for his character, but he's very willing to do that for his wife.
Yeah, so I suppose ultimately, in terms of the information Timothy Zahn might be trying to communicate to us, the readers, the dynamic between Han and C-3PO isn't really the important part. It's how Han feels about what Leia wants.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think it also potentially might be a lack of Zahn wanting to come up with dialogue between them.
Yeah.
That Han would find annoying enough.
I mean, that's the advantage of like Thrawn not being the point of view character in this book. Is like we see him from the outside, from Pelion, from other perspectives, and in the previous book as well. But like, we don't have to get the sense of what it's like to be in a genius's mind. Just that. What it looks like from the outside, and we fill in the blank. It's like the scary movie where you don't show the monster, you just kind of see flashes and stuff, and that's what
like The Mist.
Yeah, exactly. Another thing I thought was like also a comment that I've made before, that Zahn's time control in these books is also very purposeful, that we know that a lot of time is passing, that it's not just like one thing after another, that there is this kind of like accordion action happening with senses of distance and timing and pacing that is also communicated by going like, well, we're skipping over a lot of things that just happened in these few days, but like it was really tight, like claustrophobic almost in this region. But like we're gonna have also that there is some motion happening in these things, unlike when Luke's going to make his jump to hyperspace and spend 6 days by himself, where he's probably just going to be meditating through that 6 days.
Yeah.
So there's nothing really to pull out there, but then just it's kind of just demonstrative of the time that's passing.
Yeah, that's another good point too. Wow. So ultimately, there was quite a bit going on there.
What do you think an alluvial dampener is?
That is a very good question.
Sounds like more technical.
I looked up what alluvium. Yeah, alluvium is deposits made by a running river or in floodplains. So when you get the river that goes around a bend, the reason that there's lots of deposit in the slow-moving, well, the deposits in the slow-moving portion of the river is the alluvium. And so there's a bit of technobabble here about whatever their ship is doing.
Yeah.
They must be passing something to stop build-up or crystallization or something of that subspace radio that went bad in Luke's X-Wing.
Okay.
I'm having too much fun Googling this. Oh no, there's a Wikipedia article. Do I want to know?
I'll check it out. You keep...
Do we want to know?
I'm still mad about the wiki spoilers I got looking at Leia's red tape.
All right. Subsystem of a starship's hyperdrive that was responsible for the regulation of thrust output from the generator. It operated by moving a servomotor-controlled plate to channel the emission of ion particles from the hyperdrive in a certain direction. Oh my god, Han Solo once resisted a temptation to convert C-3PO into a pair of backup alluvial timbers. Reference, Dark Force Rising.
It all comes full circle.
It does. Love the look.
Nice. It's a bit of a stub article, but
yeah,
that's all you need to know.
Yeah.
What do you think came first, this reference in the book or the article describing what that was?
This reference in the book easily.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Apparently,
What?
alluvial dampness was first mentioned in the Empire Strikes Back novelization.
Well,
Interesting. It's good technobabble.
Yeah. The more I think about it, the more it like
it is.
gives up images of preventing gunk in the hyperspace. But like if you had a superconductor that was kind of dropping out of superconductance and is starting to get like resistance or something, and so it's just a way to galvanize those circuits in a way that prevents. I don't know. I'm just talking out of my ass. And
So was whoever made up this term.
Exactly.
Yeah. Where's this image on the article from? Oh, that's definitely from Jedi Academy. That looks very familiar to me. Let's see. Appearances. Yeah, it appeared in Jedi Academy.
More info on the image says dampener.jpg. Source is Star Wars Jedi Knight Jedi Academy.
Heck yeah.
Screenshot of a copyrighted video game graphic.
It's all coming together.
And speaking of efficient writing, I also liked that having Han distracted while he was being shepherded into the movement was a way to like really put us in Han's mind and give us a sense of like the opulence of the Emperor's architecture could be described in a way without having to go into too much detail, and that he was moved efficiently from one scene to another, getting him from the landing platform into the council chamber. So I thought that was pretty good. And then we also have this like efficient siloed knowledge of things that are staying with between Chewbacca and Leia, while not transferring that to Han. Han doesn't just know stuff, so I feel like that's a very good sign of the writer knows what they're doing.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I love Han's whole demeanor as well.
I like the line where he said, "Do you want me to swear in on something?" And it made me wonder, like, what would that look like? Are they swearing in on like the book of lore, or what would they have them swear on?
The book of the wills. I don't know. The novelization.
You can swear in on anything. So it would have to just be something important to.
But this is Star Wars.
Right.
What do they swear in on in Star Wars?
It could be any.
Well, if it's important to Han, maybe he swears in on Chewie.
Maybe he swears in on the Falcon.
Yeah.
The instruction manual for the Falcon.
Right.
Easily.
When they went in to visit Akbar, did anyone else picture little rubber bands on his hands, keep him restrained?
The rubber bands on his claws, yeah.
Keep him from being too frisky with their guests.
Instead of handcuffs, yeah.
Nice.
He just has normal hands, so it's more of an insult than anything to him.
Yeah. So if he's under house arrest, does that mean he's like in the fish tank at the grocery store?
I like this description of Mon Mothma in the council chamber. In the front of the room, on the lowest level, Mon Mothma sat alone at a simple lectern, looking like a lecturer in a classroom.
Yeah.
That feels like Mon Mothma. She is absolutely the most competent of them, and probably knows it.
Yeah.
And feels like she kind of has to run things.
Yeah. It gave me big feels of like back at university, walking into the lecture hall at the top of the thing, and just like it being, all angled down, seeing her just at like a small desk of some sort.
Yeah. Just looking exhausted.
Well, she is Mama Mothma.
Mama Mothma, yeah.
Mama Mothma.
Mommy Mothma.
Mommy.
Although it also made it feel like it was pretty small for like a galactic government. That it didn't seem like there were so many representatives in that room.
Kyle, are you playing with raw chicken?
Yeah. This one here.
Is it silly putty or something?
It's just some slime that I made.
Oh, okay. It looks like raw chicken from where I'm at. The color of it.
Really gets the blood going.
This does seem like a small room that
Yeah.
they're in. Very small.
What kind of room? Like, this was Palpatine's castle. Like, do you think they took over his like dining room or his castle?
It's like the laundry room.
It's making me think of a larger version of the council room from A New Hope, where Vader chokes that one dude. I feel like it's a much bigger version of that.
Yeah. Which is what would probably be in the Imperial Palace, particularly if like it's just the Moffs or the Grand Moffs that are there, that it would just be kind of small, and then they would go off and, because it was only a very select group of people that were running the Galactic Empire.
Yeah.
You know, maybe this isn't fit for the more
growing pains.
The Democratic Republic, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think probably somebody had the idea and they're like, yeah, that sounds sick as hell. And now they just kind of, no one wants to admit that it doesn't work.
Yeah, it feels like there's someone in trouble.
Because they're like, metaphorically, great. It's great to be like, yeah, our new government is held in the old home of the dictator. That sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I guess this is also before episode 1 as well, so there are no Senate chambers before that. So Timothy Zahn would have had to imagine the Old Republic, in the sense of like how they reference it in this book, the Old Republic infrastructure, rather than the Imperial infrastructure that was used at that time.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
He's just doing the best he can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is a paragraph that's interesting to me. It's when Han takes his seat in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Phalia and his fellow Boffins he saw were in the group of front row seats next to Leia's group. There were no empty seats anywhere that might have signified Admiral Akbar's absence, at least not in the front where they should have been.
Right.
The counselors, seated according to rank, had apparently shuffled positions so as to each be closer to the front. Another reason for Phalia to have pushed this configuration, Han decided. At the usual oval table, Akbar's seat might have been left vacant. And I think that's showing Phalia's ambition right there. Or, not ambition, but the amount of support he has.
Yeah.
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 Like they've already like gotten rid of his spot at the table.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has to go sit at the kids' table now.
They put him in the tank.
The fish tank
Yeah.
with the rubber bands.
I don't know. The whole plot for Akbar being framed is like too convenient for him to be in trouble for it. Like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, the money was untraceable right until it got into my account. That's when it was noticeable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and it came from it came from an account on what was it, Palani or something?
Yeah.
Which was basically like I kind of took as their version of like Switzerland, you know, with like the Swiss bank account, and they're trying to remain neutral or whatever. And
Yeah. So it did seem totally too convenient, you know, on the nose as well.
Mm-hmm.
Of like, on the day of the assault, they put money in his account, and
right.
give it a month, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like trying to collect the life insurance right after you murdered someone.
Clearly a setup.
Yeah.
I also like the way that Phalia had maneuvered in this council meeting as well, because he was very cool about how he let the information come out, and it put Han in this unbalanced state of like, oh well, Han was the one supplying more information and kind of like falling over himself almost to say, oh well, you do a better job. Oh, but we have this Grand Admiral that we're trying to find, and it really did put Han quite on the, I mean, not even on the defensive, but like he was just like trying to fill the space with his own words to, while Failure could just sit back and just let that happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which I am just waiting for this to all blow up in their face, because I imagine Thrawn is sitting in a dark room somewhere being like, and that's where Han will admit that there is another Grand Admiral, and they'll start looking for me.
Yeah. Did we get okay, so when Han says that it was a Grand Admiral, we get a little bit of reaction in the room, and then I think Mon Mothma says, but we accounted for all the Grand Admirals. Did we get Phalia's reaction? I can't remember.
I think we were just left off with, well, we need to investigate this more, and we can't make these assumptions just yet. We need more investigation. And then it kind of like just faded to black with Leia. All right, Leia, now you begin your cross-examination, and then it's like classic George Lucas screenplay to the next scene.
We do get a little bit of reaction, because later, once the dialogue resumes, it first says that the silence hung thick in the air, but then once it resumes, obviously a self-granted promotion, Falia said briskly.
Okay. He says that, yeah.
He's dismissive about it. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So that's his reaction to it. We don't know if it's genuine, because this isn't film, so we don't see facial expressions unless they're described.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
But I think that does say what he thinks about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
You know, maybe it's an ignorance thing on my end, but I felt the same way. Like, what do you mean it's a self-granted promotion? Like, it's a title. They're all just a granted thing. Like, well, the Grand Admiral was that much more. It was a rank.
Mm-hmm.
So regardless of whether or not appointed by Palpatine himself, it is a rank that in a system that other people respected.
I guess what they're trying to say is like that he came out of the woodworks or something. There's a power vacuum there, and in order to stand above other people, he proclaimed himself to be a Grand Admiral rather than actually having earned the title from an external source.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's kind of how I got it.
But yeah, I'm quite liking what we see of Failure in these snapshots, because like hearing about him in the background being underhanded or slimy or whatever else, the snake in the grass, is one thing, but actually seeing him in this room, I was like, oh yeah, that's an interesting character. I want to see more scenes with him.
I like him quite a bit. I feel like he has some Thrawn energy to him.
Yeah, certainly.
Right.
Yeah.
I like how they described Phalia's like fur rustling, like it went up one moment and then like it went down a different moment or something.
That'd be so fun.
That's such a Hayao Miyazaki thing.
I would like to see a Studio Ghibli Star Wars.
Oh yes, please. Vision Season 3.
Yeah.
Hilarious. Did they do Grogu and the Dust Bunnies?
Yeah, they did.
So we already got it.
Yeah, but I mean like a feature-length Nausicaä style movie of like either far future or far past.
Yeah. That would be incredible.
Yeah.
I like this guard droid.
Mm-hmm.
How it's just especially wary of anyone like crossing the bounds of interacting with a prisoner.
Yeah, but he's like very polite about it.
Yeah.
He's like, I am sorry to inconvenience you, but I must murder you now.
What was the comment? Oh man. Oh yeah. Wasn't there a comment about how they knew this model of droid to be like frantic, or I can't remember what the word was. Why would you make a droid
touchy lot?
Touchy. Why would you make a droid? Why would you make a droid? A line of them. that is known to have an issue.
Because you wanted them to have it. You programmed it.
Yeah.
That makes me wonder if a DMV droid would be programmed to be grumpy. Because it's just efficient for that area.
Programmed to be very slow. Sloth from the Zootopia.
Oh my god.
At the beginning, when we switch perspectives into the house arrest, into Leia's perspective, she says something about him using gestures, like more human gestures or more Mon Calamari gestures, and I thought that was kind of interesting that there is this code switching almost of whether Akbar is distracted or not, how much he is adhering to kind of social norms. And I also felt like, in the modern day, looking at that, it kind of also feels a little bit racist on more racism from Leia, of like, oh, good, he should be appealing to my standards of communication rather than me learning to understand how Mon Calamari people communicate.
Yeah, it did seem quite expected.
Look,
Yeah.
Leia's always been like that, though. Like, she may have been like part of the rebel group, but she's always had a bit of a down to you on poor people and other races.
Yeah.
She grew up as a princess. Definitely silver spoon. Silver spoon syndrome with her a bit. But I just thought it was kind of interesting to like have that there, and given this is 30 years later after a lot of social justice movement, that it looks quite differently, and being able to recognize that kind of expectation to be like, oh, well, you should conform to human social standards of communication is an interesting, maybe unintended character flaw for Leia in that moment.
I would be very curious to know if Timothy Zahn had an inkling of it, because code switching is not a particularly new idea. It's just a more well-known idea now. Because of those social justice movements that have been happening in the past several decades.
No.
Yeah.
I think Scott was just abducted.
Yeah, the lights flashed on and off, and
then he was gone. Oh, there he is.
Oh yeah, don't worry. I was just fighting off the poltergeist.
Also, speaking of character flaws for Leia, Tim, you said at the very beginning of this that it was very healthy, the communication between Han and Leia, that Han respects her boundaries, and like she says she's not ready to talk about it, but when Han says that he's not ready to talk about something, she's like, oh damn, I wish my Jedi powers were better so I could read his mind so he doesn't tell me about it.
I never thought we'd see the day where Han is more well-adjusted than Leia.
But for me, it's just more evidence that Leia is that that if she was a Jedi, it would be hell, the road to hell paved with good intentions to make some new dictatorship.
Okay, right.
The true heir to Anakin Skywalker.
Yes.
She's the heir to the Empire.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't become evil with superpowers, though? What was that one movie with the Dane DeHaan?
Oh, Chronicle.
Great fan for this film.
Wait, what happened in that one?
3 kids get superpowers, and then one of them goes mad with power.
I hope Dane DeHaan gets a role that suits his talent soon.
I would have liked him in Do That Ever.
Ooh, I need to see that.
Oh, it's Do you like Metallica?
Yeah, I was just thinking, is that like the Metallica song?
Yeah, it's basically.
Oh, is the song based on?
Yeah, the story is set to Metallica music. Like a Metallica concert is playing, and they're like, "Hey, we need you this guy played by Dane DeHaan to go get this package and bring it back here. But there's like a riot in the city.
Oh,
It's great.
That's awesome.
that sounds like season 4 of Stranger Things meets Scott Pilgrim.
I would also like to say that Dane DeHaan is a very nice person. I have served him coffee.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Cool.
It's
I'm
quite a
trying to
surprise.
think of what I know Dane DeHaan from now.
I've never even heard of it.
Harry Osborn.
Oh.
He was an Oppenheimer.
Was he?
Yeah,
Okay.
Valerian in the City of 1,000 Planets.
I think of him Life After Beth and Kill Your Darlings.
These all sound like very familiar things that I do not know.
I've never heard of those.
Sorry, we're talking about films. What were we talking about? Star Wars?
Dane DeHaan, if you're listening to this Star Wars podcast, we support you.
I served you coffee that one time.
Yeah.
We're very nice.
Send them an invite.
Yeah, right.
We'll chat with them sometime.
Yeah.
Have them as a guest host.
Yeah. I like this bit of information about the Mon Calamari being peaceful until the war came.
Yeah.
Sad.
And their star cruises were originally passenger liners, and they helped convert them into warships.
Yeah, so it's like the rebellion, like the bad guys basically like, give us your ships.
Yeah.
That's a bummer. I just imagine Mon Calamari were just doing their own thing, having a great time, and then they're like, I guess we have to go kill people now.
Yeah. It sucks.
Yeah.
And we can't tell how well they're being treated now that the people they helped have won. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that being very well, even Leia points it out that they feel weary in war. Just
Right.
What did we sacrifice along the way to get here? Although I would like to take us back to the last chapter where you said that the Verpines couldn't be, well, you didn't say that they couldn't be, but you didn't like them being generalized as they're just good with tech.
Yeah.
And how does, I'm wondering how this changes for you of like, well, Mon Calamari are just peaceful people. Like, what was the difference there between being like generalized as peaceful or generalized as good with tech?
I think being generalized as peaceful was a broader topic.
It is.
Yeah. There's a lot more that can go into that. It can be culturally peaceful. It could be that they just haven't happened to have a lot of wars based on their history. It doesn't necessarily say much about them. It could just be happenstance.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Which I think was the comment that we made on it originally, is that being good at tech seems very specific for some reason. Instead of just saying like they're intelligent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if it were to say the Mon Calamari are really good at serving cake, that's a peaceful thing.
Okay, that actually does paint it very well to me. Because I think if they'd like you said, being peaceful is a kind of a more of a an observed thing of happenstance. And if he had said that that their culture values or puts emphasis on technological prowess or something like that, that is a little bit more, a little bit less. Asians are good at math.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah, I feel like when you get too specific, I mean, you do run the risk of just sounding like you're putting your value on them.
Exactly.
So. Because another way of saying that they are peaceful in general is a good thing. But you could also say they're much more subservient.
Right. Yeah.
They don't fight back. That's what's good about them.
That reminds me of that Christopher Columbus journal entry where they say it's like he finds the Polynesian people. I've never found anybody who is more hospitable and gracious. And then the last paragraph or the last phrase of the paragraph is like, and they will make excellent slaves.
Right.
Oh, Jesus Christ. That is fucking horrendous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because,
I don't like that.
because then that last part is what he was thinking when he wrote that first part.
Yeah.
Exactly.
God.
That's like a 2-sentence horror story that...
Right.
Yeah.
Christopher Columbus, there was no 2-sentence horror story author.
Jeez.
I wonder if that was actually Christopher Columbus. We'll have corrections in the document if you go check
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
We will verify our facts when it's more convenient for us at the moment.
We can't really fact check when we're all like 8 tequilas in.
Only one of us.
Is that what happened when the lights went out, Scott?
I don't know. Was it?
Yeah, I quite like this chapter.
Me too. In general, I feel like a lot of the interactions and just moments have been meatier in this book so far.
Mm.
And I think a lot of that is, I don't actually think it's fully because we know context. Something about the communication of the characters' behavior and their demeanor just seems much clearer in this book compared to the last.
Oh, okay. Because I was thinking that that comment I made at the end of the last book was that the more that Zahn has time to set something up, the better the payoffs are.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's just a natural consequence of his writing coming through to, a second book where we've got a whole other book to lean on.
Yeah.
And these things are ratcheting in that way.
Yeah. There's a bit, I don't know, I feel like there's a bit more detail from the description of Phalia to just the thing about Akbar code switching and just even seeing Leia's perspective, thinking about what she knows of the Mon Calamari's history with the rebellion. All these various things that are communicating things that other characters are potentially feeling. And to me, it makes me feel like all the interactions are richer. I don't know. It's like less mechanical, if that makes sense. It feels very organic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also just a lot of clever ways to communicate it too, I think.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah, like instead of us seeing something about Akbar having a feeling, it's like we can surmise what he's feeling based on what Leia is thinking.
Yeah.
I suspect that the politics will be much heavier in this book, and so that's probably why we're seeing a lot more of that in focus. While with the last one, I feel like it was more semi a mystery, because we had some info from the Imperial's perspective, but not all the info.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And that was a little bit more adventure novel as well. They were off finding stuff, getting stuff, whereas this one has already started in the midst of there is a political intrigue right here. Yeah. And we're going to have to solve that. And I'm guessing, there's going to be MacGuffins that they go out and collect to solve that mystery at the end. But at the moment, it seems it's a thriller novel now.
Yeah, it is.
Not an adventure.
Yeah. I keep looking forward to the next with each chapter in this book so far.
Yeah.
It's a very good feeling.
Actually, it reminds me that when we first got the council in the first book, and I think it was about chapter 5, Scott, you said you didn't like it as much because it was a little bit too political. How did you feel about this chapter?
I feel like it had the potential to feel too political, but it did. I feel like it really delivered with, so many different, the interrogation. Well, I don't know if you want to call it interrogation, but of Han. And I really liked how he was kind of oh, is Phalia giving me a compliment? And then he's like, he was just using it as a way to get after Akbar. But then I did like how everybody was kind of caught off guard when he said, there's a new Grand Admiral. And I felt like that was kind of an exciting moment. Everybody's like, oh, okay, what's this threat now? And everybody was kind of not caught off guard, but everybody was like, I guess, surprised in a way. Yeah, and it was kind of interesting, I guess, to see just like, the cogs spinning, kind of like from Phalia, kind of like, is he in on this? What is this? Like, is he working with Thrawn? What's going on? It's kind of like trying to figure it out.
I feel like there are more threads in this chapter than the one in the first book. In the first book, it was a little bit straightforward, whereas this one, like you said, is there a line between Phalia and Thrawn? How is Mon Mothma feeling about this thing? The pressure that's being put on the different factions in different directions, and it's just a little bit more dynamic than the first book.
Yeah, and I feel like this was also because we had the battle, and then and because Han basically destroyed 40 whatever warships. It's like we knew this was coming. We saw this coming. This court martial, whatever it kind of felt like. Everybody was like, "Well, you did what you had to do," And I feel like it was a lot more. I guess this kind of like political setting or whatever you want to call it was a lot more warranted, I guess.
I think politics are ultimately very gripping. I think it ultimately depends on how much of a connection we get to, as viewers, to the parties involved. Because if politics are ultimately, and this applies to many, many different contexts, ultimately they're about people. And if you're just discussing politics with no sense of the people involved, then it's not interesting.
Well, definitely also the subject matter, because I think the first time that we ran into the government, it was like, oh, how are we going to set this up? How are we going to get people connected? And while that is somewhat interesting, it's not as interesting as, one of our council members is potentially doing treason for the government. If this was this is another political chapter about like, how are we going to establish roadways between planets to be more secure, then it wouldn't be exciting.
Yeah.
No, that's probably the biggest difference. Is the other one was nobody was involved in that. It was Han trying to report his failures of like, well, I didn't recruit anybody for this very dry logistical problem that we have. Yeah, now it's a lot more closer to home for the readers as well as the characters involved.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have anything else on this chapter 3?
Good.
No, it feels good.
Yeah.
All right.
Good stuff.
This has been the Lost Holocron. You can find transcripts, links to discussions, and more at our website, lostholocron.com. While you are there, you can learn how you can support the creation of future episodes. Read on, and we'll be waiting for you in the next transmission. We would be honored if you would join us.